What is happening, everyone? Welcome to Dr. Prepper. Today, we're not really going to be doing a whole lot of showing and telling, but what we are going to do is talk about the one main prep that I believe you have to have in order to be successful. Now, having a bunch of gear, having good quality gear, even flashy gear is great. Stocking up on food and water, medical supplies, water filtration, having a get home bag, making sure various things are taken care of. Those are all great things to have, great things to cover. And typically, if you're covering that much ground, you have lights out kits, you have get home bags, you have medical, you have water and food. If you have ammunition, you have different weapons, you know how to use that gear, you know how to use those weapons. Those are all great things to have. And typically, someone who's covering that many bases and doing that many things is already on their way or already has this ability or this way of living. And the number one prep that I think any one prepper should have or develop is mental preparedness. Now, this is going to be, that's kind of a broad thing to say, right? Because there's a lot of, it's kind of just like prepping, covering all the bases. Mental preparedness, there's a lot that falls under that category. We can start with the first category that I think helps develop the strength, the mental strength, and that is list keeping. Making lists of things that you need to get, that you have to have, things that you want, things that you need to do, things that you want to do. Making lists, keeping lists, grocery lists, that is organization, that is mentally preparing for the future. And another thing is making lists of what you have. That way you're staying organized. So, you make lists for the future, things that you need to get, want to get, have to do, need to do, want to do. And then you are also covering the ground of the things that you already have, the things that you're getting, making sure you are organized. That is going to be a huge role as you go down the journey of preparedness, because before you know it, if you have a daily log, or a notebook of any kind. Typically, I like smaller to medium-sized notebooks, but something just like this. I keep a lot of different notes and things. I also have, that's kind of my at-home notebook, and then I keep little memo pads like this with me, which I've said before, shown before, and I keep my thoughts organized, write down different ideas and things I need to get, things I need to do, same thing we just talked about. And it helps really keep me organized and on the right track. Before you know it, you might get something this year, and then, a couple years down the line, you have so many different bases covered, so many different tools or pieces of gear to cover that given circumstance, lighting devices, whether it's lanterns, flashlights, that sort of thing. Write down just a general idea. You don't have to be crazy exact with every single thing, but I have 5 flashlights and 3 lanterns. That way you have a reference point of making sure you have everything covered and what you need to work on. If you have 10,000 rounds of ammo, but you only have 1 flashlight and that's your only source of light that you have in your house, if the power were to go out and that's all you have, well, you need to stop focusing on the ammo. Make sure you're checking your notes and seeing what you need to get. And that way, and you can write down, I used to write down by category, fire starters, lighting, just so on and so forth. That way, it really kept me organized to the point where I know exactly what I have. I have my lists over here on a separate page of things I need to get to start rounding these things off. And there's nothing wrong with having something that is your thing, whether it's knives or pens or flashlights or pouches or whatever it is. There's nothing wrong with having something that you really enjoy getting occasionally or whatever. I'm a knife collector. I collect gear though as well, but knives are my forte. That's what I really like and focus a lot of my extra money on. Get the things you need, and then if you have money left over, get the things that you want. I definitely don't need any more pocket knives, but I want them. But I make sure other bases are covered. And that's another thing right there that kind of takes us into that topic, is having your own thing like knives or whatever it might be is also going to help you in a preparedness journey, because it's going to keep your head level. It's going to keep you straightened out because you have a hobby, something that, can take your mind off things, keep you busy if you need. Making content and stuff keeps my mind moving. I often think of things that I might need, or even watching content. I'll think of something I need or see something I need and I write it down. That's another point right there to take, is keeping a pen and a notepad handy. And if you're obviously here, you watch YouTube videos. If you see something that triggers, hey, I could use that pocket knife, a pocket knife, or I could use a decent pen or flashlight or pouch. You write it down, because everybody's lives are busy. Everybody sees a lot on a given day. So it's easy to see something that you need and then forget about it not long after that. So, keep that pen and paper with you, jot that stuff down. And, if you end up not needing it, then good. If you get it and you find that it was a useful item, then, you just kind of continue down that path. But off of the little tangent there, I have this guy out here and, a couple of these other things. And, I'm a gearhead, and some things are ultra useful when it comes to various gear. Some things are just not necessarily, some things are gimmicky, but then some things are maybe not gimmicky. They're well made, or they do have a use, but just not very many. We tend to get stuff like that as you get further down this rabbit hole of preparedness. And the key is, if you are early on, or you're even midway through, or you're just traveling on the journey, right? Doesn't really matter how far you are from just starting. But the amount at which you can limit the unnecessary stuff, the better off you're going to be. And that's where the lists and whatnot come into play. You can refer to your notes. If you have an extra $100 and you're scrolling on Amazon or wherever, Sportsman's Guide, and you see something that, you like, but you don't necessarily need it, or you don't know if you'll have a use for it, or it's a cool gadget, make sure you have your needs covered first. Don't go buy $100 backpack if you don't have a pocket knife, type of a deal. Cover the main things first and then kind of work your way down. having a good knife is going to be one of the very first tools that I could recommend. Whether you want to go with a folder or fixed blade, doesn't matter. But, you know, you make your lists and then you set your priorities too. Things I need, but this takes precedent over that. This is more important, you know, type of a deal. In my theory, you get your gear stocked up, then you get your backpack. You know what I mean? I'd rather have the various gear and be able to, even hell, throw it in a grocery bag, at the worst, than have a backpack with no gear. So, you know, get the things in order, you know, as best you can that have the most necessity to them. You know, you don't need $100 pen until you have a lot of your bases covered. So just keep your buying habits in check, you know, especially if you're on a budget. If you see something cool, think about it for a minute and, you know, or sit on it for a little bit and make sure it's something you truly need. And the reason for this video is I've had some people ask me, how do you maintain the mental toughness to continue down this path or to continue, you know, feeling like you're ready for a situation, right? And, you know, you somewhat kind of have that innately. Some do, and some can definitely develop it. But the more that you prepare, the more that you do, the more gear you get, the more practiced you get with that gear, the more that you see consuming content, whether it's something you hear, something you see, you're retaining that information, and we're in a golden age of information. So the more skilled you get, the more that you see, the more that you know, the more you become mentally prepared, you know. But you can definitely be consumed by preparedness and be falling in all of the wrong rabbit holes for all the wrong reasons. There are definitely people out there who've been in the preparedness world for a very long time, but their main focus has been weapons and ammunition, or just strictly gear, or, you know, insert the item. But if you don't have food and you don't have water and water filtration and something bad happens, you're going to be dead, most likely fairly quickly. So do not get lost on any one rabbit hole. Try to stay as well-rounded as you can. Learn how to use the various things in those different categories. A great thing to get out and do to help kind of polish you off in a sense is camping and hiking. Those types of things, you're getting outdoors, you're using various gear, and you're using various skills. You know, that's a good entry-level way to start learning how to use your gear. I think both of those things are imperative. Hiking and doing some camping. Now, I have young kids, and it's been a while since I've been camping, but we do go hiking, you know, and we do some trailing and stuff like that. But we are definitely going to be getting into some tent camping and letting the youngins learn what it's like to be away from all the things that we take for granted every day. Just as something as simple as being able to plug something in or push a button to turn the TV on, those sorts of things. You got to learn to be able to live without those things. It's something that we all need to remember, that we definitely tend to take things for granted, and it just comes naturally because everything is so easily accessible. Everything is almost given these days, not earned. So it's good to get back to the roots and the basics of, being outdoors and kind of making your own way without a whole lot. So just something and some things to think about. There is a lot to cover when it comes to mental preparedness, but I wanted to touch on just a few entry level things that can help people get started, stay focused, stay organized, and continue getting more and more prepared efficiently. That's kind of the whole deal, and a lot of things will happen naturally as you run your course. The more prepared you are, the better off you're going to be in a bad situation. No, you won't be able to cover every single little situation that could ever happen, but the more things that you can prepare for, the more things that you can cover, the better off you're going to be, the better off you're going to think and feel, because you know in the back of your head you have this, you know how to use this, and so on and so forth. And it just calms you down, it settles you down, and gives you the ability to kind of step back and think, because you're not worried or stressed that you can't cover this, or this. So just some things to think about, guys. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you here. Hit the thumbs up button and let me know down in the comments what you think. What are some things that help you with your mental preparedness, your mentality? Let me know some ways that you stay organized and continue getting prepared efficiently. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you all. We're on our way to 1K. Have a good night, and I'll catch you on the next one.